All right, so I have that QR code there. I'm just gonna quickly show you what it does. I mean, that link is actually, you could look up the City of Winnipeg assessment website and do the same thing. So if you're ever bored and don't know what to do, you just scan that, right? So I'll scan this with you and open that website. Come on, you can do it, you can do it. So we talked about property taxes and that every property in the city, in the province gets taxed, right? And so that's how the government collects money for education and for all the other repairs and infrastructure maintenance, all that stuff. So when I scan, if you Google assessment and taxation, way up here, if you Google assessment, property taxes, something like that, Winnipeg, eventually you should get to this part right here. And you can actually search by address. The city has kind of like, everything has a value to the city. Every property is valued a certain amount. Otherwise you could cheat the government out of their amount, right, that is owed to them. So I'm going to start with Sisler. Sisler is 1360 Redwood. All you type in is Redwood, name only, not street or avenue, nothing like that. And you hit search. And there's a roll number, that's the account number, and has a little bit of description of the area. But look at the assessed value of Sisler, of this whole property, this whole area here is $11 million according to the city. But a school is exempt from paying property taxes. So this is also stated there. It tells you how big the property is, 9 acres. It tells you, watch this, the frontage. We're going to talk about frontage. This is how wide the property is, Sisler. Okay, that's how wide it is. So if it would be taxed, if there's any improvement, they would use this frontage to calculate that. But this is the cool part here. If you click on, so you can start with Sisler, then you click on this map. This is the cool part. You can actually look into your neighbor, like what your neighbor's property is worth or houses in that neighborhood. So you see the map here. Let's go spy on the people that live down Redwood going towards McPhillips. Right? Okay, I'm not encouraging you to spy on people, right? But there's the property values as you go along Redwood, you walk towards 5th Street. So let's click on this one here, 381. You can actually click on that property and get some information. So let's say you're house shopping and that house is for sale. The City of Winnipeg gives you a little bit of insight as well. So this is the value that the property is at according to the city. This is usually lower than the market value. This house could probably be sold for $400,000, $450,000. It depends on what the market is doing right now. But here's also important information. 999 square footage. That's like the square footage of the house, not including basements, guys. Square footage of a house is never including the basement, okay? It's a bi-level. It says it has a basement. It says that the basement is finished. So we even know that that house has a finished basement. What year it was built? 2012. Air conditioning, yes, right? So even that is here. No fireplace, no attached garage, but there is a detached garage. And pool, this one doesn't have a pool. So a lot of information here. And watch this again, we're going to use that later on. The frontage of this house is 25 feet. It's actually not a very wide lot. Older lots are like 45 to 50 feet. So this is almost like half of what older properties are, right? So it's not very wide, but you also pay less on property taxes if there's ever an improvement in that area. So anyways, this was done as of April 1st, 2023. They're always a little behind on this info, but right, this is cool. You can go to downtown and we can look at those high rises and they're worth millions of dollars. I don't know if I...
Just go to footage.
Yeah. Good try.
Okay, you need to reverse or you're almost there.
Yeah.
Grand Avenue, we do
can't handle it. Are you guys on the router, on the Wi-Fi, guys? Get off the Wi-Fi. Stop playing games. Come on, you can do this. I've done this many times. But I look at all those big buildings on downtown. They're worth millions of dollars. So the city actually gets a lot of revenue from those areas. Oh, there you go. Portage and Main. Look at this one. I think this is the tallest building right now in Winnipeg right here. It's $120 million. $120 million. This is the, sure, I'm not so sure right now. But it's the newest skyscraper there, right? It took years to build. I actually went to school with one of the guys that's in charge of the whole operation. I went to high school with that guy. But this is expensive, right? So the city taxes this, right? So make lots of money. The more your property is worth, the more money they make. So keep that in mind. Downtown is a very big revenue source for the city. Anyways, that's that QR code, in case you were wondering. 62, folks, this is summarizing property taxes and all the components that could possibly be involved, okay? The portion assessment, listen carefully, only multiply the value of the house by 0.45 if it kind of hints towards it, okay? If it says this is the portioned assessment, then you just use that number moving forward. Don't be multiplying it by 0.45. And you'll see what I mean in a bit. There will be mill rates mentioned, okay? If there are mill rates, you need to divide them by 1,000. And then you multiply it by the portioned assessed value. So in this case, I only show you 2 mill rates, but let me tell you, there have been instances where there are 3 mill rates. You would still do the same thing. You divide it by 1,000 and multiply it by the portioned assessed value. It's 45% of the entire value. Then you come up with the education taxes, your municipal taxes, any improvements, if there are some, and remember, you use the frontage when it's improvement. And so you would add all of those components and then subtract any credits that may appear. One more thing, I'm going to put a note down in this corner here, if you don't mind adding that to your notes. If question says that the ed taxes, this is on page 62, are $1,950, let's say. If it says that flat out, don't multiply, just use it. And I'm telling you, this is a big problem that students take that. It's like, oh, I need to multiply by the mill rate that appears over there somewhere. No, these are, settle down now. These are the education taxes. They've already calculated it for you. You just use it right here when it's time to come up with a final answer here, right? The education tax piece has been already taken care of. So you'd literally just plug this number in here and add it to all the other components that may have been part of this scenario, okay? So what I just talked about here is referring to this bullet right here, okay? So I will actually say that's what I mean there. That is the part that belongs to that bullet. And now we'll calculate. We'll actually do the math here. Okay, so come with me to page 63. Property taxes are due on the 30th of every year. September 30th, sorry. I just said 30th. September 30th. Okay. Page 63. Portion assessed value is given. That's important about this question. The Adebio family owns a home with a portion assessed value of this. Okay? I will highlight that number, actually everything that goes in front of it, and I will tell you that this question, remember, you only get taxed on 45% of the property. Settle down. Okay. That's not me. Somebody rigged it. Okay. So we already know the portion assessed value. Do not multiply this by 0.45. I'll tell you this, don't say this is 100% of the time going to be the case. But if the question says the value is worth this and only 45% of it is taxed, that is key for you. It's like, okay, I'm going to have to multiply by 45%, by 0.45. In this case, you don't. Okay? Now, I'm going to use different colors here. The municipal mill rate is this many mills. I'm going to highlight that with a distinct color, green in this case. The municipal, and it says that the education mill rate is that many mills. Mills is just the unit that follows a mill rate. Okay? The property has a frontage of 60 feet, so that's how wide it is. And usually when they give you the frontage, there will be some improvements. Okay, so the family is charged for local improvement taxes for road oiling and lane lighting. You know what? I have I kind of suspect what it is, but you know what? If the road is kind of squeaky, they put some oil on. No, I'm just kidding. Road oiling, what I think it is there are some roads like on the outskirts of the city that are kind of like gravel, but kind of also packed. Like it's almost like tar mixed in it. And I live close to one of those roads. And every couple of years they drive over with a big tank. It's a truck with a tank and has a bar. And it just leaks like black tar all over it. And so when I drive over it, like that all splashes onto my car. And I'm kind of upset about that. But that's, I think, what road oiling is. But you know what? You don't really need to know what it is right now. Except for we're going to go find a rate for that. Okay? Lane lighting is obviously the lights that the city has, and there may have been some added or who knows. But anyways, we're going to pay for those two things. Those are improvements. Let's call that, these are improvements. Improvements. Okay? And there's a credit. There's also a credit here for $750. You know what? I'm running out of highlighters here. But I'm just going to say that credit comes in at the very end. Okay? We're going to subtract that amount from what we owe them at the end of the day. Okay? Now, it says determine the education taxes. So we just want the education taxes in this portion. So we go ed tax. We take our portioned assessment, which is $138,250, and we multiply it by the mill rate. And I already know that it's going to be divided by 1,000. And what is my mill rate for education, folks? You got to go get the orange one here. 15.462. I'll tell you one more thing. Sometimes they give you 3 decimals, sometimes 2 decimals. Sometimes there is no decimal. Folks, sometimes it's just 15. It doesn't matter. Just divide that thing by 1,000. And let's calculate that. That's going to give you an amount here. So 15.462 divided by 1,000. Okay? And then multiply it by the portioned assessed value. Sorry, one too many zeros. There you go. So that's, can you see that? It's 2,137.62. That's how much you're going to pay for the education portion of your property taxes. Okay. Calculate the municipal taxes due. Okay, so municipal tax. We take our portioned assessed value. It's never the entire value of the home, by the way. This home is worth more than this. but we get taxed on 45% of that. So we're going to multiply it by a mill rate, divided by 1,000, not 100. Where's that mill rate? It's way up here, 11.415. Let's figure out that. Can't see that, right? There we go. Divided by 1,000. Right, and then I multiply by 138,250. So here it is, 1578.12. So in this case, it breaks down. I want education, I want municipal in a certain spot. Not always will you be asked to do it in steps. Sometimes it's just figure out the total. So you have to do this in steps anyways, but then later you combine it all into one. I'm going to ask you to, under municipal, we have the mill rate calculation, but we will also add the improvements, folks. That is part that goes under municipal. So improvements, make a little line there where you add improvements. And how would you do that? We would do road oiling. We take our frontage, which is 60 feet, and we will multiply it by a rate, which we will have to figure out. Then there's lane lighting, which is also, any improvement is based on how wide your property is. And we're going to go and get those two rates from our table. Sometimes I give you that rate in the question. The province does the same. And in this case, we're going to go and use our table. So road oiling and lane lighting. Let's go find it. There's lane lighting right here. It's $1.80 per foot. Okay, $1.80 for lane lighting. And road oiling is $8. So remember that. Lane lighting, $1.80 and $8 for road oiling. So $8 per foot for that, and the other one is $1.80 per foot. You don't have to do the per foot when you do your calculations. I'm fine with you just stating your answer. But you grab your calculator and you go 60 times 8. That's $480 that you're going to be paying for road oiling. And lane lighting, you're going to go 60 times 180. That's $108. So technically, folks, the municipal tax, I'm going to underline all of these because they're important, but the municipal is adding up any improvements and the mill rate, the number you got from the mill rate, you got to add it all up together. So 1578.12 plus 480 plus 108. There you go. 2166.12. That would technically be your municipal taxes in this case. Okay, so I broke it down, and these are the two main components on your property tax bill. Okay, the education and the municipal. Now we wrap it all up into just one big number. That would be this part right here. Calculate the total net property taxes for the family. So we go total would be 213762, right? What we calculated in A, and we add up 2166.12. That's what we calculated in B. So my formula asks for add improvements to it. We won't because it's already in here. Right, I already added the improvements here. But don't forget this one, minus, there's a $750 credit. This is the credit that you subtract. Okay, and here we come up with our final property tax bill, which quite frankly is a lot of money. It is always in the thousands. every year. So what do you think property taxes is, ongoing or one time? It's ongoing, yes. So I do all of that and I end up with, oh, I do it here, $3,553.74. That is your total bill for, this is due September 30th in Winnipeg. That's when property taxes are due. However, I would strongly suggest, and usually somebody's going to ask you to, if you want to enroll in the TIP program, TIPP, tax installment something plan. And then you pay it monthly every month. So instead of having this all in one shot, you're enrolled in the TIP program, you never have to worry about the bill. They'll send you the bill, and then there'll be a little note at the bottom, you are enrolled in the TIP program, nothing is due, just keep making your payments, right? So TIP is something, it's not required for this course to know about the TIP program, but now you know in real life. I enrolled in it right away. So it comes off my account automatically, because if you forget about this, it's a lot of money to owe the government, right? And you do not want to be owing taxes, because I think 2 years, if you don't pay for 2 years, they can come after your house. So just make sure you pay it, okay? All right, I'm going to ask you to try it right away, 64, okay? And what's different about 64 is that I don't break it down into A, B, C. It's just figure out the property taxes net of credit, meaning take away the credit. Question, are you going to have to multiply something by 0.45 before you start? Yes. In this case, you didn't. Here you will. So I'll get that part started for you. Portion assessed value, where the portion of value needs to be calculated. So, the Lorenzo family owns a home in Selkirk. The property is assessed at a land value of $121 and a home value to be worth $245. The residence is taxed 45% of the market value. So guess what? Portioned. Before you even start, you need to have this assessment. Portioned assessment. After this, it's the same as what we've done on the previous page. And it's kind of weird. It gives you the land, like what the property is worth that it's built on, and the house, right? So we're going to add those two together because it's combined. And we're going to multiply this by 0.45. That's where this comes from. And it's always 0.45. Like it's never going to be something other than 0.45. Because that is the standard. If you add these up, you get $366,000 that the property is worth. And you're going to multiply it by 0.45. So please don't do this part unless the question is quite specific about it, mentioning the 45% or something like this. This is very important. I'm not going to circle it because that's not your final answer. But if you have a mill rate, you're going to multiply it by this. So if you want to think of the pie chart again, you now figured out what 45% of the property is. And you get taxed only on this. Okay? So I would like you to continue, pretend like this is the previous question, right? Where we just had to do a little bit of work before we get started. But this is now the number that you're going to use to figure out everything else. So give it a try. Look at my notes. And remember, I will go over this yet with you shortly. Okay? But give it a try.
Sure.
If you don't want to know the answer, that's fine, but I'm going to write it down up here. Just don't look if you don't want to know. It's in that bracket up here. That's what your final answer should be, 6,083. Page 64 to 67. This is the answer you're supposed to get on this one, 6,083 and 66 cents. So sometimes you just have to double check and make sure you added it right. I will post a key to 64 to 67. If you want to do 68 all the way to 70, the answers are actually posted. There's like 5 questions. The numbers are just small at the bottom of that page there, if you want to continue past 67, okay? Another thing, I'm going to give you a take-home AC, okay? The take-home AC has a property tax question, it has a insurance question, it has an amortization table, it has a bunch of things that I want you to start thinking about. If you want to get the marks, it needs to be done by tomorrow first thing, okay? Like first thing in class. And so I'll hand it out to you. If you're not here today, you are here today, but if you're listening to this, it's posted on Google Classroom, right? So you can get it off of that. Just do it on loose leaf and then bring it in anyways, and I'll give you a copy so you can staple it